Hello everyone and welcome back. My gosh, it's been ages. Several months in fact. Well, life has happened. Obviously with COVID. I personally never got COVID, thank God. But I was busy again with life and work and structuring things and restructuring things. And to be honest, Starships were the last thing on my mind, even though they were on my mind. And one of those, sets or some of the ships that I've been meaning to get was this here shuttle pack, which was out of stock on Eaglemoss's website for quite some time, but I found it on eBay. I know, dreaded eBay, for a very decent price, less than I probably would have paid for it had I waited for Eaglemoss to restock the thing. So it's been here for, I don't know, 2 or 3 months now. And I'm sorry, again, it's just taken me so long, but I'm here and I'm happy to share with you now the official Shuttlecraft Set number 6 of the Star Trek official Starships collection, featuring the Sphinx Workpod, the Type 818 shuttle pod, the Hawking Type 6 shuttle, and of course Janeways armored shuttle from the last episode of Star Trek Voyager. So I'm going to open this box and we're going to go through these ships one by one. So here we go. Stand by. All right. First up on the list is Shuttlecraft number 21. This is the 21st Shuttlecraft that's been released overall. So this is number 21, the Sphinx Workpod. Seen never. I think it was in a few or a couple of technical manuals and seen in that kind of format or what have you. But other than that, we've never seen this thing on screen. But nevertheless, we have a model of it and can't wait to share with you what's inside. So let's get this open, get the ship aside, and look at the magazine. All right. So as you can see, pretty cool looking image of the work pod on the cover there. Of course, the magazines are all mini size compared to the rather larger versions for the rest of the main collection. And so yeah, it's considered a work pod, length 6.2 meters long, active in the 24th century. And according to this, its maximum speed is only 2,000 ms. Return to page. And of course, despite this being a smaller magazine, as the others will be as well, the basic layout is the same. So you have your table of contents and all your copyright, contact information down there at the bottom, how to put the model onto the stand, which is very simple, just place them on top, and some brief information here, as well as a couple of different views of the ship there. So according to this, it is a small maneuverable vehicle used for starship maintenance. This would be for the Galaxy class and specifically the USS Enterprise D. Unfortunately, we never saw this thing on screen. Turn the page, we have a rather cool looking image of the ship there. Looks very un-Star Trek-like in a weird way, which is interesting because that's one of my main criticisms of all the ships from Star Trek Discovery, Picard, blah, blah, blah. But this thing was never seen on screen. So yeah, got a couple of more views there, a little bit more information there. It's a 2-person craft to be piloted only at sublight speeds to do work on the main ship itself. And we have an LCARS diagram there showing you where the various components are. Thruster coils, the radio magnetic field we've got tractor emitters, plasma transfer subsystem, and so on and so forth. And this is specifically work pod number 12, as seen there. And the call sign is John Henry, so that's interesting. And that's pretty much it. The magazine concludes with that, and you get an image of the ship there as well. So now I'm going to get right on to the little thing itself. And here it is. Pretty cool. for a ship that we've never seen. Very, very bright, nice, crisp yellow. You have your 2 Starfleet pendants there from the Next Generation era, which is nice. They've been fairly consistent about those types of things. They're both in the right direction. We have 2 more Starfleet pendants and stripes on top of the engines there. And an unusual feature here that most of the other shuttles and the other various sets have not featured is you can actually see inside, and you can see 2 seats there. So that's kind of cool. This looks like something, in my opinion, that can be used underwater, not in space, but I digress. Got some nice engine paint there. You can see the cargo bay area, some nice detail there. The paint job on this is really, really nice. And yeah, not bad for a ship we haven't seen. And if we have seen it, then someone please correct me down in the comments. And this nice number 46 there. So it's always cool when they put level of detail on things this small. So yeah, unfortunately, I don't have much to say about this particular craft, mainly because, well, again, we've never seen it. But pretty cool. You know, it's not one that I would have jumped for and chosen, but there's always one of these ships in the set that you kind of care less for and more for maybe 1 or 2 others. So yeah, that pretty much wraps up the 21st shuttle in the overall Starships collection and the first shuttle in the first shuttle in this set number 6. So now I'm going to move on to the issue number 22, or shuttle number 2 from set number 6. Ah, yes, perhaps this is one of my favorites that I've been really looking forward to and wanting. In fact, one of the primary reasons I wanted this set, I know, for one little last shuttle, but let's move on. This is number 22 in the overall Starships collection of the Shuttlecraft. That is the smaller Shuttlecraft. And in this particular set, set number 6, this is the second shuttle featured, which is the Type 18 shuttle pod from the Starship Defiant, seen on Deep Space Nine. Now, this thing was seen at least a couple of times. I think it was first seen in The Search, and it was seen and seen in, was it Heart of Glory? I think it was Heart of Glory, or Heart of Stone, or maybe that was the other shuttlecraft, I'm not sure. And then it was also seen in that one episode where they had the Cardassians and the wormhole, and they were trying to stop this comet from going into the wormhole because it might destroy the wormhole and all that stuff. So yeah, so now let's jump right into it. Nice, cool image on the cover there. A little information here. Type 18 shuttlecraft, 4.5 meters in the 24th century, and of course assigned to the USS Defiant. Turn the page there. We have different views of it and more information down here. This compact shuttle was carried aboard the Defiant, as I mentioned, and used for away missions, etc., etc. And just as I mentioned, this particular shuttle was used by Kira and Odo when the Defiant went into the Gamma Quadrant and was attacked by the Jem'Hadar. Another view of the ship there, which is kind of cool. And we have more information there on the right. Not much, but some there nevertheless. And as well as a couple of other views there. And we have the LCARs there showing you where the various components are, etc. And concluding with an image of the ship there. So pretty solid magazine there. Again, pretty consistent. Not a lot of information, but just enough. All right, so now let's move on to the model itself. If I can just get it here. All right, folks, here it is. You know, I'm really happy. I really wanted this one. You know, it depending on how you look at it, it can be considered a boat. Looks like a boat, right? The paint applications are pretty nice. The Starfleet stripe of the DS9 era is pretty spot on there. The registry is bold, 74205. And smaller print down there. You can see USS Defiant, Shuttlecraft, what is it? Shuttlecraft 02? Anyway, and You see your warp nacelles here. Contrary to popular opinion, this thing does have warp drive because they mentioned it, that the warp drive or the warp field would help stop the comet from going into the wormhole or something like that. The registry number is nice and clear down here on the bottom. Starfleet stripe is also clear across the bottom, as well as the ship's registry, at least the USS Defiant portion. This is the rear hatch, or I think it's one of these here. Looks nice, and interestingly enough, this fits the overall aesthetic and feel of the Starship Defiant. So it looks like something that would be on board that ship. Yeah, it kind of reminds me of the NX-01 shuttle pod, which is in one of the earlier shuttlecraft sets. And it wouldn't surprise me, now that I think about it, if they actually took inspiration from this and kind of made that. So this is one I really, really wanted. Plastic down at the bottom, the metal portion being up top. All of this top part is metal. Again, the paint looks great. You can see the different colors on here. The registration is here, NX74205, and fits in your hand about that much. So pretty small, but big enough. And yeah, I was really looking forward to this because I really wanted this particular shuttlecraft. Very simple design, but in fact, I wanted this shuttlecraft more than the one that was released in the earlier set from the Defiant. But nevertheless, I am happy to have them both. Uh-oh, dropped it. Bloop, dropped it twice! All right, no harm done. So yeah, and now, going to move on to the other shuttle in this set. This is the primary reason that I got it. And so yeah, I'm very happy with that. Thumbs up there. So let's move this aside and move on to the next one. All right, and this is Shuttlecraft number 23 in the overall sets, and number 3 in Shuttlecraft set number 6. This is the Type 6 Shuttlecraft Hawking, seen in Star Trek Generations at the conclusion of the film. That is, after the Enterprise D saucer section crashed on Veridian 3. This was the shuttlecraft that recovered Picard, Captain Picard, after he buried James T. Kirk on the mountaintop of Veridian 3. Yeah, it looks a lot like the shuttlecraft Galileo from the Enterprise A from Star Trek V. In fact, it's exactly the same with a few minor changes to it. So let's get right into it. Type 6 shuttle, length 9.1 meters, 24th century, assigned to the Enterprise D. Some more views there, little information there. And a great view there of the shuttlecraft, a view that we never saw on screen, obviously, because it was a quick flyby and it was on a planet's surface and not in orbit of the sun or something. Got a couple of views there, which look nice. And yeah, got the L car showing you where the various components are, and so on and so forth, before concluding with an image of the ship on the back there. So not so bad. And now on to the model itself. Here it is. This one is actually pretty cool. It actually looks better. I know some people will hate me for this, but it looks better than the Star Trek V shuttlecraft. They're exactly the same length. Fits in your hand about that much, so still kind of big, but not too small, or the other way around. The Enterprise D registry is pretty crisp and firm there. You can see it says Enterprise, although mine has a bit of a paint and blemish there, but nothing too bad. And you can see it says Hawking there. My camera won't focus, but it's still there. It says Shuttlecraft. Shuttlecraft, what number is that? 15, yeah. It says it on the same here. On the other side, you got the Starfleet stripe and pendant from that era. And the cockpit looks a little bit different than the one seen in Star Trek V, which was the Galileo. The bottom looks pretty cool. Nice paneling there, you can feel it. You can see the join lines of the model itself. Not too bad for, in fact, this whole bottom section you can see was, the engine components were kind of a separate thing. The nacelles or engines are exactly the same as the one on the previous model. No clear plastic, just paint for the field grill etc. And yeah, and the back, your impulse engine, and this is the hatch that kind of comes down. It's a nice ship. It's a nice shuttlecraft. We only saw it quickly once in a flyby that was kind of something reminiscent of this, and then that was it. So yeah, pretty nice to have this one too. I would say this one and the previous Defiant ones are ones that I wanted, along with the next one that I'm about to show you. So this one gets a thumbs up as well. Yeah, definitely worth it, I would say. All right, so let's move on to the final one in the collection. Janeways Armored Shuttle. Hello, and back for issue number 24 of the Shuttlecraft set overall, and number 4 in the Shuttlecraft number 6 set, the 6th Shuttlecraft set. This one is Janeways Armored Shuttle from the last episode of Star Trek Voyager called Endgame. This was a shuttlecraft seen in an alternate timeline in the perhaps late 24th century. It has, I don't know, some futuristic tech, armor, etc., etc. And this shuttlecraft was taken from a starbase or something like that, and it had all this cool stuff on it. So let's get right into it. Nice image of the shuttle there, which is very reminiscent of the armored USS Voyager. They came out in the main collection, oh gosh, a couple of years ago now. Turn the page, the format remains the same, of course, different views of the thing, and a little information about it. And little interesting note here, it says that Admiral Janeway's shuttle was specifically equipped for an engagement with the Borg. And this was at the start of the 25th century. So oddly enough, if we're being technical about this, this alternate timeline took place essentially where we are in the real, I guess, timeline now. If we're going to consider Star Trek Picard as canon, Star Trek Picard, despite my feelings about the show and how they did everything, unfortunately is canon, even though I try to pretend like it isn't half the time, most of the time. But in terms of the time, Star Trek Picard takes place in the late 24th century, early 25th century-ish, and this takes place around the same time, although this was obviously an alternate timeline in which Janeway goes back in time to try to save her crewmates and get Voyager home a little earlier than it took her in that timeline. And in that timeline, Starfleet had this technology to fight the Borg and everybody else, and that's where the shuttle came from. And there it is in Earth orbit there, which is nice. It's very similar to the shuttles on the USS Voyager, as you can see there. Yeah, and then you can see in the episode there's a screen cap or an image showing the armor being deployed. It kind of covers the whole entire thing, and it carries transphasic torpedoes and all that good stuff. And it's equipped with a neural interface. You turn the page, there's an LCARS showing you the various components or what have you. And yeah, before concluding with another view of the shuttlecraft there. So now I'm going to dive right in to the last model in this set. And here it is. Pretty cool. I think it's awesome, but unfortunately, despite being excited about this, there's just not much to look at. It's just almost like one of those old pewter models from the 90s. Of course, there's no identifying insignias or anything on here. It's just plain silver gray metallic looking. Of course, that's the point. That's how it appeared in the episode after the armor was deployed. You can see the outlines of the nacelle here, Bassard collectors, the grill, and so on. You can see the join lines of the model. It's cool, I guess. Looks like this is plastic and this is all metal. The nacelles, of course, are plastic. Fits in your hand about that much. It looks cool. You know, I guess if I had to choose, if I were the one who was making this set or making the decisions for these sets, I would have chosen the shuttlecraft, the SC-4 shuttlecraft which is the same exact shuttle, but minus the armor. I would have chosen to have it as it appeared before Janeway deployed the armor. I guess you would get a lot more detail in that way, and it just seems like it would have been a better idea overall. They may in fact do it down the line, but so for now it seems like this is the way it's going to be, which is a little disappointing. Armor and stuff is cool, but this would be considered a variant, in my opinion. And I would have liked to have seen the standard SC-4 shuttlecraft without its armor deployed. Just knowing that it had the armor would have been enough for me. So yeah, again, it fits in your hand about that much. Doesn't weigh a whole lot, not too big, not too small. And so yeah, honestly though, overall, it's a pretty solid set, as you can see. Those are the 4 shuttlecraft that I just showed you all. I would say at least 3 out of the 4 were okay, one being kind of an iffy one. I would say as far as the best 2 would be these 2 here. The weaker ones would be these 2, especially this one because we've never seen it nor know much about it. And this one because the armor is deployed, and like I mentioned, I would have preferred to have seen it without the armor and in its normal form. So yeah, as usual, these sets will run you about $100, which in my opinion is a lot of money. That's probably why it took me so long to get it. And, and of course with the world being in lockdown and COVID and all this other stuff, it just wasn't on my mind to get it. But when I saw an opening, I jumped for it and I did it, even though I probably shouldn't have. So yeah, that pretty much wraps up Shuttlecraft set number 6. If you have any questions about it, please drop it down below. I'll do my best to answer it. I'm sure I'll be asked, will I be getting more ships and stuff in the future? I hope so. I have a couple that in my quote unquote cart right now that I'm going to get sometime soon. Again, my priorities have just been elsewhere. But I do plan on doing more, so please don't think I've forgotten about everyone. I hope you all are doing well and safe and taking care of yourself and your families and your friends. And yeah, guys, until next time, live long and prosper, be safe, and catch you guys out there on the flip side. All right, bye-bye.